broad geographical coverage as well as focus coverage, which is important for bandwidth-intensive applications like satellite TV. TelStar 18 Vantage is Telesat's second high-throughput satellite to launch this summer in partnership with SSL and SpaceX. SSL, which is based in Palo Alto, California, builds both geostationary and low Earth orbit satellites, and to date has more commercial geostationary satellites on orbit than any other manufacturer. T-minus 5 minutes, 45 seconds. Everything continues to look good for launch of Falcon 9 with TelStar 18 Vantage. Now, during the discussion on the satellite, we heard the call out that MVAC Merlin engine chill-in has begun. That happens at T-minus 7 minutes. Another major activity that will be happening in less than a minute and a half at T-minus 4 minutes, 10 seconds. The cradle arms on the transport erector will open, so we might be able to get a close-up view of that. The arms will open, and the strong back will then recline slightly away from the Falcon 9, starting about 10 seconds after that. We'll hear the call out that the transport erector is in position at about 88.2 degrees. Once we get to T0, the erector is hydraulically reclined away from the Falcon 9 to about 77 degrees. Falcon 9 then clears the erector at liftoff. You've now heard the call out. The stages are pressing for strong back retract. That's getting ready to open the arms and recline the transport erector. Now currently on Falcon 9, fuel is completely loaded on the first stage now. We're still loading liquid oxygen on the first and second stages. If we've got the pad mics up, you may be hearing the hiss and pop of pressure venting from the rocket, as well as the plumbing that's on the transport erector. The white clouds you see around the rocket, that's the moist Florida atmosphere. It's condensing around the areas where the cold gaseous oxygen is vented overboard. We've also got gaseous oxygen venting from the base of the Falcon 9. That's due to chilling in those Merlin turbopumps that began at T-minus 7 minutes. The liquid oxygen chills the pump on each engine, and then it's vented overboard. Now, once we finish loading liquid oxygen at T-minus 2 minutes, the last major event in the countdown will happen at T-minus 1. That's when the flight computers on the Falcon 9 take control. You'll hear the countdown net. Falcon 9 is in startup. We've also heard just now that the recline is underway of the transport erector. And we've also heard TVC motions acceptable. That's the last minute wiggles of the upper stage engine actuators to make sure that everything has been checked out as close to launch as we can. Now, meanwhile, I was talking about Falcon 9 in startup at T-minus 1 minutes. The computers will light the Merlin engines at about T-minus 2 seconds, and liftoff will be commanded at T0. So with all systems go on Falcon 9, the spacecraft, the range, and the weather, let's listen to the last few minutes of the countdown.
Stage 1 logs are complete. Go bleed verification. Stage 2 lock slow complete. Falcon 9's on internal power. . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . .
Gas control.
Falcon 9's in startup. Stage 2, press for flight.
Go for launch.
Stage 1's at startup pressures.
T-minus 15 seconds.
Falcon 9's configured for flight.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition. Liftoff.
Clear for pitching downrange.
Power and telemetry are nominal.
47 seconds into flight, we just heard the tail end avionics call out nominal. Falcon 9 heading through the clouds at Cape Canaveral, powered on 1.7 million pounds of thrust. We're throttled down for passing through maximum dynamic pressure.
Vehicle supersonic.
We're supersonic, heading out of the Earth's atmosphere.
Vehicle has reached maximum aerodynamic pressure.
And now the call out, we're through the area of maximum aerodynamic pressure. As we get into the thinner areas of Earth's atmosphere, the loads are now decreasing on the Falcon 9. Now we're getting ready for chill-in of the upper stage engine. Similar to the first stage, we'll begin flowing liquid oxygen to the pumps. And we've heard the call out, MVAC-D chill-in has begun. Now coming up, just past 2.5 minutes into flight, the 9 Merlin 1D engines you see here from the ground camera will shut down. A few seconds later, the stage will separate, and then the upper stage engine will ignite to begin propelling the spacecraft to the first of 2 orbits for the evening. 2 minutes, 8 seconds into flight. Trajectory looks good. Merlin engine chamber pressures look good. Coming up on shutdown.
Miko.
Stage separation confirmed.
MVAC ignition.
And we've heard the call out, MVAC ignition. The chamber is up on power. Engines looking good on stage 2. Meanwhile, stage 1 is now coasting. You can just see the grid fins, the titanium grid fins on the first stage opening on the left view. First stage is now going to begin drifting down towards the drone ship. Meanwhile, we're coming up in 15 seconds on fairing separation.
Stage 2 on nominal trajectory.
Bearing separation confirmed.
And a nice view, and you can hear the applause from the folks outside Mission Control here at SpaceX headquarters in Hawthorne, California. The two fairing halves have separated in the vacuum of space. Now, as a reminder, on this flight, the fairings do not have recovery systems. We did not put parachutes in, so there's no plan to recover the fairings. We've heard acquisition of signal call out from Bermuda. That's our tracking site in Bermuda, has the telemetry from the Falcon 9. Second stage continues to perform well. We're carrying TelStar 18 Vantage to the low Earth parking orbit. We should get into orbit about 8.5 minutes into flight. Now currently, first stage continues to coast. It's arcing up to apogee and now beginning to descend down towards the drone ship. As a reminder, on this mission, it's a geostationary transfer orbit mission. There is no boost back burn to bring it back to Cape Canaveral for a land landing. This first stage recovery will use 2 burns to land on the drone ship in the Atlantic Ocean, currently parked about 635 kilometers offshore. This is the typical profile for a GTO mission. 5 minutes, 15 seconds into flight. The Merlin vacuum engine on stage 2 continues to look excellent. Trajectory is good, and we're waiting for entry burn of the first stage in less than a minute. Now we're coming up on T plus 6 minutes. Second stage continues to perform nominally. First stage is preparing for its entry burn coming up in about 17 seconds. This will be a 23-second burn. We light 3 engines on the first stage to begin slowing us down as we pass into the atmosphere.
Stage 1 entry startup.
You see ignition, the 3 Merlin engines at power, back illuminating those titanium grid fins.
Stage 1 entry shutdown.
And shutdown of stage 1. That completes the entry burn. Coming up at T plus 8 minutes, just shortly after that, we will get the landing burn of the first stage. Seven minutes into flight, everything continues to go well on the second stage. Propulsion's good, trajectory is good. We're about to go transonic on the first stage as it quickly enters the Earth's atmosphere. Time we should be going transonic on first stage. That puts us less than 60 seconds away from landing. Right now the vehicle is passing through 900 miles an hour. That'll give you an idea. The deceleration that's coming up in the span of less than a minute will reduce from over twice the speed of a jet all the way down to 0 as the rocket lands. There'll be many events coming up here very shortly. Landing burn and ignition, second stage goes into orbit, and then the first stage lands. Let's listen and watch.
ASTS has saved.
Stage 1 landing startup.
We have single engine startup on the first stage for landing. We're getting views from the onboard
Stage 1 landing
camera.
burn.
Vac shutdown.
Stage 1 landing light deploy.
And we're waiting for confirmation on first stage on the drone ship.
This is recovery. Falcon 9 has landed. All landing operators proceed to procedure 11.
We don't have a view, but we hear recovery calling out Falcon 9 has landed. Also importantly, in the background just now, we had second stage engine shutdown on time. Guidance, navigation, and control engineer confirms we have a nominal orbit. That's the parking orbit, the first of 2 planned. So far, first stage looks good on the drone ship. Second stage is in the desired parking orbit.